Welcome back to the Table Rush Talk Show, where we dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, marketing, and personal growth. I'm your host, Mischa Zvagensoff. Today, we dive into the world of real estate investment with Paul David Thompson, a seasoned expert who walked away from his corporate life to build financial independence through commercial real estate. Paul shares the exact strategies he used to achieve financial freedom, highlighting the freedom of doing what you want, when you want, and with whom you want. Get ready for actionable advice that could transform your investment approach. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Mischa, I am so excited about this. We are going to crush it.
Yes, we are. You know, this is my third Zoom interview thing today already this morning, 9:33 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I can't remember where you are.
Central, yeah.
Central, yeah, but I'm already tongue-tied. I'm like 9:30 and I'm what? You gotta love the podcast life, right?
Yeah. There are worse things. There
are worse things. So you help people invest in commercial real estate or perhaps residential real estate as well. Give us a 2 or 3 minute blurb on what you do.
So basically, our guiding North Star at our company at Real Estate 101 is to help people become successful investors in commercial real estate, which includes multifamily or other different kind of asset classes inside of commercial, so that they can ultimately build time freedom and not have to exchange their time for money anymore.
I love it. Short but sweet. The dream of 90% of us Americans, perhaps the rest of the world. You say? Yeah.
Say again?
Oh, I said the dream of
Yes.
90% of Americans.
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't want to live in the rat race. Like, we want to do work that's meaningful, and the work that we do, the time we spend on things that we work on, doesn't have to be something we're doing for an income if we don't want to. But you can't do that unless you're paying the bills. Like, you still got to pay your groceries, you still got a mortgage. And so why not build a business based around an asset class that allows you to not have to work in it? And that's why we love real estate so much, is because you can just plug right into an existing system that already has property management in place. You don't have to build the management team. The management team is there to hire, and they're experienced already. And you can buy a 20, 30, 40, 50 unit apartment complex, and that may be all you need. Like, you're really only one deal away from financial independence.
Ooh, I love that. That's enticing. So let's go back to 2015. I know a bit of your story. I was on your podcast. I obviously have information about you. You were in the corporate world, and it came crashing down. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but tell us how you stumble into commercial and real estate investing.
Sure. So I was a corporate employee for many years. I had an engineering degree, and I needed a job, and I was broke. So I was like, well, I'm not sure what to do, so I guess I go get a job. You know, like, at 22, my life's plan had come to an end. Like, I was like, I got a degree, and I had a marketable skill set as an engineer, and I went and got a job. Excuse me. So after I got this job, I went into a little bit of a funk. I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Right? I was like, am I facing the barrel of a 40-year career of doing this work that I don't really enjoy that much? But I lacked any other ideas. I didn't know how to build a business. I didn't have a product idea. I didn't have any kind of business acumen about me. So I just kind of settled into the standard life, the default way of living, where we go to work, you kind of find some interest in your job, you make a little bit of money, you start climbing the ladder of the corporate world, and you get married, you get your mortgage, you have your kids, and you get fat. And I was living the American dream, right? And here's what's sneaky about that, is it wasn't terrible. Like, it's not that bad in the scheme of things. In the span of human history, that is not a terrible life. However, I was not rewarded, and I had the potential to live a life where I was fulfilled and had purpose and joy. Because we live in a time and space and in a country that allows us to kind of design our own life if we choose to. but we have to make that choice. And I had a wake up call moment of 15 years into my corporate career where I went on a corporate, or I'm sorry, I went on a beach vacation, just like I'm about to go on. And I had an opportunity to extend that 1 week vacation a week longer. My wife was a stay at home mom. We had the money to stay longer. Both my kids were out of school for summer break. And I worked for an internet service provider that made the very technology that we're using right now over Zoom possible. So it was easy for me to work from the beach house, like not a problem. Like there was nothing technically in the way. But of course, as just being a good employee, I'll call my boss, let him know what's going on. I like to stay another week. My wife and kid will go to the beach, but I'll stay at the beach house, work my normal hours. Most of my employees work remotely anyway. Shouldn't be a big deal. He says, "Oh no, what are you talking about? We don't do that here. I expect your tail back to the office Monday, 8 a.m. Click." There wasn't a conversation. There wasn't oh, thank you for your years of service. Like, what can we do for it? It was just like, we don't do that. Bye. Click. It's like, oh, okay. And what was I to do but to just tuck my tail between my legs and go back home and like face it? And I was pissed.
Tell me.
So sometimes when I talk about it, I feel it in my body. I'm like, so I feel that moment so much. It was like, what? I was pissed. And I remember it's like, well, I guess we're going back home. My wife understood. My kids were like, man, daddy, okay, we stay longer. And it's like, oh, sorry, we can't. And I felt like I felt small. I felt insignificant. And I remember packing up the van and playing Tetris. You put all your stuff in your car. You still have sand in your shoes, and you're driving off. I remember looking in my rearview mirror, seeing the beach kind of escaped me, right, as I was driving away, and my kids were just kind of slumped over in their chairs in their car seats. They were young at the time, and they were just resigned to their fate. I thought, what am I teaching my kids? It's like, I want to spend more time with them, and I can't because I have to go back to this office. That I could be anywhere doing this job. And I was a good employee. It wasn't like I was a slacker. I was a director. I had employees. I had good performances, but that system didn't work for them, and so I needed a different system. And so I vowed that day that I would never ask permission to spend time with my family ever again. I would ask permission from my family to go work. So I just changed the script.
Love that. What's interesting too, a relatively benign moment compared to some stories. And I don't mean that to
Yeah.
downplay it, but you had a moment of clarity where a lot of people, perhaps it is that they've fallen into drugs and alcohol
Yeah.
or have gotten really fat, or their wife's like, I am out the door unless you
Yeah.
make the change, or their kids won't talk to them, where you were sort of at a success point, and it was like, well, wait a minute, like it could get worse from here, and I am not appreciated at my job,
Not at
clearly.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so heavy. I worked for Wells Fargo Home Mortgage for a long time, and man, it was super successful there, which means that they were killing it off of my success. And I don't mean that negatively or
Sure.
anything like that. But what I loved about Wells Fargo Home Mortgage at the time was you it did have a homey feel to it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Even though Wells Fargo is one of the biggest brand name banks, in the country,
Hmm.
if not the world, perhaps. But I remember the day that sort of like you learned, wait a minute, this isn't a team effort.
Hmm.
I am not appreciated for the value I bring, for my
Right.
individuality, for any of that stuff. I am truly just a number on a sheet. And I had that moment of clarity, and it was shocking to the system. And it was kind of a benign thing as well, too. Anyway, so thank you for letting me say that. Yeah. Anyway, and I left pretty soon thereafter. I was like, wait a minute. I am, in spite of all the rhetoric that I hear, I am just part of the machine, and I am a
Right.
number. Yeah. Anyway, go on. I thank you for indulging me that thought.
You bet. Well, so this is something a lot of people are facing. Like they've decided they want to make a change. Something has happened in their life where it doesn't make sense anymore. You're like, I need to do something different, but I'm not sure what. So I went on kind of a search. Like, what could I do that allowed me to control my time and spend time with my family when I wanted to, maybe have, create financial independence, have time freedom, and have location freedom. So how could I create that? I looked at a lot of options. I looked at starting buying into a franchise. I looked at becoming an insurance agent. I looked at a lot of different things, and everything I looked into just felt like I would be buying myself another job. But I was also really short on any new ideas of what to do. And so it just kind of dawned on me that I could, well, let's try this thing where I buy a piece of real estate to see if it works. And I bought one and I saw the checks coming in. I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And so I just kept buying and I kept buying real estate. I was kind of like the guy that plays Monopoly. You go around the board and you just buy everything you touch. Right. And so
Yeah.
I was just like, I was trying to get everything because I was in a race to replace my income with the cash flow from these real estate properties.
That is awesome. Which two questions. First, how long were you at your other job when you had that moment of clarity on your
I was
vacation?
15 years into my corporate career.
15 years into the corporate career.
Mhm.
And was that a relatively new job within that career, or was that,
I'd been with that company for probably 8 or 9 years at the time.
yeah, so you'd pay some, you had paid some dues, I
For
guess
sure.
is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And then when you went on your search and you were thinking, oh, maybe I'll sell insurance or do all these other things,
Hmm.
side hustles, perhaps, whatever. You
Yep.
said you were looking for financial freedom, time freedom. Did you say creative freedom?
Location freedom.
Location freedom. I love that. So, i.e., I can stay somewhere for an extra week if I want to.
Right.
That
I,
kind of
I
make
can do
that
what I
sense to you
want,
too.
when I want, with whom I want.
Yeah. Um, that's good. Say that again. What I want.
I
Say
can
it
do
again.
what I want, when I want, with whom I want.
I'm taking notes when I want with whom I want. That's good.
And
Um,
that's like 3x freedom, the three types of freedom. If you overlap that with the Venn diagram, that's like the North Star. That's what you're after. I think it's all of us. Like if you think about retirement, that's what retirement is I don't have to go to work anymore. I have enough money to live the rest of my life. I can spend time with who I want and I can go where I want and I don't have to ask permission for anybody. I have no have tos. And what's really interesting is in this modern world, you don't have to wait 40 years to get there. Like you can build that now in a much faster way than we could in the past.
yeah, that's so beautiful. You said that at the beginning too, that the time and space that we're in,
Hmm.
like these are the questions that surround us. We're not, you and I are not fighting for shelter,
Right.
food. What's the third thing? It's Maslow's
Yeah. Hierarchy of needs.
hierarchy.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, we have food, we have shelter. Like we're in for now, we're in a stable political environment.
yes.
It's, that's
Yeah.
who knows,
Subject to
who
change.
knows. Right. 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 And that's something to be very, very, to be very thankful for because most people in history have not lived in a stable political environment where you were basically in a rising tide environment. Are there struggles? Are there challenges? Are there problems? Of course. But if you were given the question of, you get to choose when, um, when you're born, but you can't choose where you're born. Of all of human history, what time period would you pick? You would not pick anything with, probably 50 years on, right? But like you wouldn't go back to the 1920s and say, yeah, I really want to be born in the 1920s anywhere in the world, right?
Oh my God. Crapshoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, big crapshoot.
Right. And if you go back in history even further and it gets worse and worse and worse. So like
Just,
the human condition, like the average value experience that each individual human gets right now, as they're being born in the world is getting better, despite what it sounds like in the news, because bad news tells, gets clicks. But the human condition overall is profoundly improved for most people.
absolutely. I was reading a book recently and I wish I could remember the guy's name and give him credit. He was, I think he was German or Swedish or something, but big stat geek
Hmm.
and, he basically said what you're saying, that although the press and social media and all this tries to perpetrate that perhaps we're in the worst times ever. And,
Hmm.
you know, the suppression of information, blah 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 blah. But it's like, well, and I'm not saying it's perfect, but
Right.
people in severe poverty has gone from billions, like multi billions, down to hundreds of millions in my lifetime. So I
Right.
was born in 1968, was a
Mm.
teenager in the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
So in my lifetime, the yeah, the poverty level has been, people above it has gone up by the billions. Women access to
Being able to
schooling.
vote, go
Yeah,
to
vote,
school.
school, like across the
Yeah,
world,
across the
nine
world.
out
Yeah.
of 10 women, right? But back
Yeah.
when I was a kid in the 80s, like that's not, it was not the case. And I'm not saying it's perfect and we shouldn't keep growing and trying to get better
Sure.
on all these metrics, but we lose the fact of how far we've come on so many of these social rights kinds of things, or
Totally.
and
And
or
just
and
quality of life overall, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
quality of life. Yeah.
Well, see, we live in an insulated experience, especially if you're in the U.S. And this may be true in other countries. I'm not sure. My experience in the U.S. is that we're hyper involved in our own ecosystem, and we lose sight of the rest of the world, right? And the rest of the world has come a long way, and we're told as Americans that we're the best, and and there's like this idea of American exceptionalism, and there are amazing things about America. So don't ever, don't uh, get it twisted. What I'm trying to say here, we live in an amazing environment. Other people are also living in amazing environments in a way that we haven't seen across the world in all of history.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's such a great way to say it as well. Other people are living amazingly in different countries, and it actually might be, if you look at it through a different lens, might be opportunities for us as Americans to really see new and better ways, or that would improve our experience, not need to revamp necessarily, but
Well,
it's kind
I'll take a little divergence here and just speak about the team that I've built. I have people that live all over the country that we're working on our team. We are a completely virtual environment. Like we don't have anybody who goes to an office and checks in for the day, right? We have people in nearly every time zone in the US. We have people in the Philippines. We have people in Europe. We have people in Australia. We have people, I mean, all over the world. And they help make, in fact, honestly, I don't know where some of them are contractors. I'm not even sure where they are. They like, and I'm not sure if it's Pakistan or Iran or but they're all over the world. And we keep hiring more and high caliber people that are just like they're providing for their families, and it is so rewarding to build a team. And that's something that I've made it a point to do. Is I'm in the business. I'm very much in growth and scale mode. Like I'm wearing a t-shirt that says scale, if you make it see, and I wear a t-shirt that says scale and growth, and I just alternate. I have several versions of it, and I just keep wearing the same thing. Like we are in growth mode, we are in scale mode, and I have figured out that it's not about me making it grow. It's about me finding the people, the best in the world, to get in line with the vision that I've created, and I build the people, and the people build the business and serve our clients because I can't scale. Like I have to find world-class people to be a part of our vision. And it's very contrary to the corporate culture that I came with, where it was just get it done. I don't really care about you. I want to build people, and I want my vision to be so big that it can fills up it has big enough for all of their dreams.
I love that. That's so good. Um, I forgot to say at the beginning, anybody watching, listening can go to pauldavidthompson.com, pauldavidthompson.com, and follow along with what we're talking about. You've also got the Wake Up Call podcast with
Mhm.
Paul David Thompson that everybody can go listen to. There's great interviews. I'll be on there. I mean, we recorded an episode, so
Yeah,
that will
coming up next
drop.
week.
Yeah, fantastic. So everybody listening, watching, and then also um, and the link for this will be in the show notes. You've got your commercial investor accelerator program, and I'm looking at the landing page right now, and hopefully we'll have time to sort of run through this
Okay.
amazing offer. Yeah, you've got for our listeners, and it says 51% off event only discount, but it's the Commercial Investor Accelerator. Here's everything you'll get. It's all kinds of cool stuff, and there's 12 months of Commercial Investor Pro software, Ready, Fire, Aim training course, and on and on and on. A ton of value, big stack, great offer stack, but I want to make sure to talk about that before we get too off in the
Yep.
weeds on other things, because clearly you have built an amazing life for yourself and your family to get that 3x. Where what was that? That was so good the way you said it. The three types of freedom.
Yeah. See
Uh,
if you can remember it.
yeah. What? We've got financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom,
Yep.
and then you said it another way. The time, what was it? Oh, the what I want, when I want, with whom I want.
Yep.
So good. Um, and yeah, so everybody look for the Commercial Investor Accelerator link in the show notes. So if we don't get around to it or we don't go into it deep enough, everybody watching, listening can click on that and check it out. Okay, so anyway, back to it. Building a team.
Hmm.
Um, you're in growth and scale mode. You've got your what? You got your scale shirt on again? Is that
Scale shirt is what
scale?
I'm wearing today. Yeah.
Yeah,
Scale.
yeah, yep. And then you've got your growth shirt, and I love the idea of you finding the good people worldwide,
Hmm.
building those people, really helping them grow their families, do those things,
Hmm.
build and support them, and then they'll build your business. And when I was on the phone, when I was chatting to you before, you said, "Hey, get this book." So I went and got it. Buy
Did
back
you went
your
and got it
time.
already? Good for
I
you.
went and got it. Yeah, heck yeah. I was like, yeah, Dan Martell, buy back your time. This is not about him, but anyway. And then I also had a note that I wanted to make sure we had a conversation about your executive system assistant. You're obviously building VAs,
Hmm.
hiring VAs, the EAVA mechanics I wrote
Yeah.
down. So um,
So you want to dig into that?
we got a lot of directions to go. Yeah, but anyway, go ahead. I think it would serve our listeners
Yes.
to, yeah, go ahead.
I think what might serve your listeners here is so if you're running a business or you're running something on the side, which a lot of people are these days, is you're the chief everything officer, right? You do it all. And that's okay at first. But you want to, it's a race to replace yourself effectively. And so you need to figure out how much the value of your time is based on the revenue that you're bringing in. And buy back your time book by Dan Martell. I've never met him, but I will someday because he's made such a big influence in my life. He has this like recipe in there. It's like exactly how to calculate it. So go get the book, figure out how to calculate it, and you basically will buy yourself your time back in a certain order that he suggests. And he starts with an executive assistant, and the very first hire that we should all be making is that executive assistant so that you can clear your headspace from having to think about calendar and email. And so I'm in the space now where I'm not personally checking my email. My executive assistant is checking my email, and she summarizes the 1 to 10 things per day that she can't handle herself that she needs my input on. And once or twice a day, we sync up and I answer those things and I'm done. So I am no longer trapped by this tyranny of the urgent of all these emails that come at me. And I've been tracking it for a while to see if there's any cost to this. And maybe once every week or two, there's something that I would have liked to have gotten to faster because I missed an opportunity or I just didn't get back to somebody as fast as I normally would have if I was managing my own email. But that's the cost. The benefit is that I have 3 hours extra a day where I don't think about anything. I'm completely unplugged from the world and I'm just doing really deep, meaningful work, creating things that only I can create. And I'm not tasking myself through my inbox. Like inbox clearing is not a high value a use of my time. But creating podcasts where I'm not being interrupted and I'm doing a one for many transaction of value here. Whereas when I'm responding to an email, that's a one-to-one transaction of value. So we need to be thinking about ways we can create a one to many transaction of value, and that's what leverage is.
I love that. And that reminds me, I'm going to promote my own thing right now just for a second because
Hmm.
I was talking about my podcast guest speaking master class that
Yes.
I'm going to be teaching here on August 5th. I had to pull up my own link and look at it, but
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I'll share that with on my newsletter. Send me that information and just just know that my VA will or EA, your
Yeah.
EA will
Yeah.
do the work and make it happen. And right, that
Yep.
yeah, so I thought, yeah, that's amazing. And I was just wanted to gently remind you that that is coming too, by the way.
We'll do it. And so what will happen is my executive assistant, Tiana, she's on it. She's world class. She lives in Macedonia. I had to look up where Macedonia was. It's a country in Europe, a former Balkan state, I think you can call it. And it's just north of Greece and evidently a beautiful place. And she is world class. I mean, she is like on it. And so what she does is she monitors my email. When that comes in, she'll say something along the lines of, I thought you might want a fast response to this, so I'm Paul's assistant, and here's what you need to do. And we've got that set up for August 5th, and we're looking forward to promoting it to our audience. And that will just happen without really any one-on-one coaching with me for that particular task, because we've done training beforehand that she knows what's coming and she knows how to handle most things. And it's the exceptions to that we talk about. A great example for this is the guy that runs Virgin. You know who it is?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson is the billionaire other billionaires wish they were. He runs 398 businesses worth billions upon billions of dollars. And Dan Martell tells a story on his YouTube channel where he got a chance to go and visit Richard Branson at his resort in Switzerland and go skiing with him. And he meets with his executive assistant for like 90 minutes in the morning, and they go over some things over breakfast. And he's not on a computer, he's not on a cell phone, he's just talking to her, and she's handled everything, and she's done all the work that she needs to do, done the homework. She brings to him the few things that she needs help with. They talk about it very casually, but very pointed, but while he's relaxing, eating breakfast, drinking coffee, and then he's done and he goes skiing for the day with his people who have come to his house to hang out, and his 398 businesses just run. Like, it is possible. Like, I'm not saying it's easy, but it is possible.
It is possible. You know, the trust level that goes with that, um, the commitment to that vision or to that to trying that, man, you have to be committed, yeah, to
Mm,
that. Yeah.
hmm.
What was I gonna say? I don't know. There's so many thoughts going through my head right now. Oh, I know I've one thing that I'm doing now is I'll be hiring outside contractors or vendors or what have copywriters or
Hmm.
funnel builders or
Totally.
things like that. And then doing, product launches, etc. I'm finding I'm like, I need my next, well, after the executive assistant, I'm thinking like temporary project managers. Do you have project managers or what's your experience with that?
Yeah, it
Right?
depends a lot on the type of business you have, on kind of what kind of things you need to get done. And so, typically when you're like growing a business, after you do your EA, the next thing you want to outsource or get help with is marketing, because you want to bring leads in the door. And when there's leads in the door, then that's set up correctly. The next thing you want to work out is sales. And then once you work out sales so that you're not involved in making sure sales happen, then you're going to like your leadership team. So that's when you're hiring your own CEO and your own CFO. And I'm at the place now where I've hired EA, marketing and sales, and I am leadership, and I'm looking for a certain scaled number so that I have enough income to be able to hire a new fresh CEO come in. That may be a year or two down the road, but I'm building an environment where somebody with a playbook can step in. Right
I
now,
love
I'm building the playbook.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good. Enough about that. Let's get back to commercial real estate because really, that is your zone of genius,
Hmm.
and where we ended or we were last talking in your story is you were walking around the monopoly board buying as many
Yep.
properties as you could. which means that you were somehow figuring out at the time, whether you're still at your corporate job or you've left, how
Yep.
to create the opportunities to buy all those properties. So, I mean, how was the cash flow coming from, or where are the down
Hmm.
payments coming from? Talk to me about that, right? There's something going on that's
Yep.
allowing you to buy all these properties.
So what I did is I learned how to go and evaluate if a deal made sense or not. And so I was about 10 deals into it, and I was buying most of the deals from a wholesaler, meaning they went out and found a deal, and then they would basically give up their interest in the contract to me for a fee. So it's a practice strategy in real estate called wholesaling. Some people call it sourcing. And it's very much akin to being a broker, except for you're actually getting the property under contract and you're giving every intention that you mean to buy it. But I happen to show up and say, hey, I'll buy my interest in your contract. Here's 5 or 10 grand or whatever number makes sense for the wholesaler. Um, so I thought, well, hey, hang on. Like I could figure out, like, I don't want to just buy one or two more. I want to buy 50 more. So how about I build that thing? I go figure out how to do the marketing and sales myself so that I can find these deals. And that's what I did is I spent my time and energy on the nights and weekends and lunch breaks. And what I would do is I would go to a conference, a real estate conference to learn, like in Atlanta or something, or Dallas, or Tampa. I would get a flight from Little Rock on a Friday night after work. I would go to a conference that would be all day Saturday and Sunday, and then after the conference on Sunday, I would fly back and then go back to work. But those 2 days, what Saturday and Sunday, what I was getting master classes in how to create and grow a real estate business. And I was going to these like grand old men of real estate that have been doing it for like 30, 40 years. And there was not a sales pitch in the back of the room. There was no mentoring It was just like they were just there. And their marketing for their event was terrible. Like this was not a high level thing. It was just like they just love this stuff and they can't help themselves but to just talk about it. So I got like a master's level degree in real estate super quickly because I just went to like as many of those as I could afford in time I could find. And I would take what I learned during that course and take it back to my market in Little Rock and test it. And I would buy a property and I was like, oh, I could do it this way, I could do it this way. And I figured out by doing that how I could use other people's money to help me find these projects or to fund these projects. And so I would buy a property at a deep discount with somebody else's money. You say, hey, Misha, I've got this deal in Arkansas. I can buy it for 70 grand. It's worth 140. I'll give you 10% on your money. If you lend me the money, I'll give you a lien. So in case I don't behave, you can get the house back, right? And then I'll fix it up, rent it out, and I'll refinance it and pay back your 70 plus 10% interest. How's that sound? And I did that a ton. And so I would buy into these properties well below the market value, fix them up, and then refinance it and pull my money back out and pay you off. And I did that like 2 or 3 times a month for like years.
And then, so is that market environment makes that available? So it's coming out of, I'm trying to think of what's going on at the time. What year is this?
This was
17, 18?
2017, 18, that kind of time frame. So
Yeah, so market's
interest
kind of
rates
healthy,
being
actually.
lower
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
go ahead.
time
Sorry.
certainly helped, right? And I was able to find deals at a discount. And so a property that was worth $100,000 in Little Rock at the time, I could buy for $50,000, $60,000, put $10,000 into it, refinance it, get $75,000 back. It would still cash flow. I'll still make some money from the rent, and I could comfortably afford to pay back your loan plus interest.
Yeah, cool. That's amazing. Uh, so you're building this out. Um, People start asking you to obviously you've made what's your business doing? Are you that's kind of a silly question. You're to the point now of you've built your empire and you're you've built your portfolio and now it's
Hmm.
like, hey, let's teach people and lever that way, or
Hmm.
what yeah, am I saying, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, talk about
So
that. So somewhere along the line you're like,
I
people want
started
to
to
know
share.
about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens, a personality characteristic of mine that I've figured out, I didn't really know this until I kind of got into real estate, is when I learn something, I cannot help but tell somebody about it because that's how I really, really learn it. To teach is to learn twice. And so when I would practice these things, say this works, I would go to my local real estate investors association, and I would speak and I would say, okay, here's how I did this. And I wasn't trying to sell anything. I was just practicing my public speaking. I was practicing being someone who can network. And I found the best way for me to network, and we talked about this only when you interviewed me, or I interviewed you, is I'm more comfortable being in front of the room, in front of a microphone with something that I'm already prepared to say as a way to network. Because by being, it's the microphone marketing effect. So like there's authority that comes with that. Even if I don't know what I'm talking about, I sound like I do, right? So people naturally come to me afterwards and want to strike up a conversation versus me having to like work a room. I'm not the kind of personality that walks into a room and owns the room and just hobnobs and just I'm the center of attention. I'm just not me. But I can be very thoughtful about something that I've done that I want to share with somebody and get on a stage and share it, and then people come to me. So that's the strategy I figured out that worked for me to network. And by just natural kind of like a serendipity, when you do that, people will say, "Well, I see what you're doing. Like, can you help me do that?" And so I started helping a few people. And then I realized I can't do all this at the same time. Like if I'm going to do this, I have to get paid for it. And so I would take on a client or two. And then when I was laid off 2 years later, 2017, I had more time, and then I could take on these some more coaching clients effectively.
It's amazing. And they start having success, obviously.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Good. Good. And then you're like, all right, instead of one to one, one to many, let's turn this into a course. Or you've obviously got an official process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Uh,
so I refined that, and I was still refining my strategy while I was in the process. And if you're in real estate for very long, you're going to have to adjust to the market. Like what works in 2015 or 17 or 22 doesn't always work, right? Like you have to adjust a little bit to the market based on the prevailing winds of the marketplace. And so I figured out that if I wanted to scale and really build an empire, like you said, is it'd be so much easier if I just went and found a multifamily project instead of 40 single family units, right? It took me several years to build 40 single family units. And then I figured out how to buy one 40 unit apartment complex by myself in one fell swoop. And I thought, well, shoot.
yeah. So wait a minute. Okay. Okay. I'm getting the picture. So you're doing all this stuff. You're out and about, but you're buying single family
At first. Yeah.
properties and you're buying, and it starts on the wholesale where
Yep.
you're buying people's contracts in
Hmm.
effect, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then you're like, oh, great. I can build my own machine to do this.
Hmm.
Boom, boom, boom. You're acquiring a portfolio of 40 single family residents. You're speaking all over the place. Do you have your kids and your baby Bjorn at the time? I guess they're a little bit older at that point, but that was sort of
We have
envisioning you. Yeah, go ahead.
several pictures of me going to properties with my kids with me. Yeah. And I even tried to convince my wife to let me use my kids in the advertising so that we could pay them, but she didn't go for it.
She did. She's
No.
not having it.
No, no. She
Oh
said
my
when
God.
they're old enough to decide to be on a marketing, they can, but not right now. You're taking all the fun out of this.
It's beautiful. Okay, got it. So you're like, oh, wait a minute. I could buy one 40 unit versus 40 single families. So go
Right.
on. Okay.
Well, and what I learned is buying a 40 unit apartment complex is a little bit harder than buying a single family house, but it's not 40 times harder, right? It's maybe 2 or 3 times harder. So I could get 40 units with the effort that I was putting into just buying one, two, three properties. Because you still have to raise the capital, you still have to evaluate the deal, you still have to, get an inspection, you still have to do all the normal things you do for a single family. But the bang for your buck is so much higher when you're buying a apartment complex with 40 units in it.
I love it. That is such a great little nugget right there. Because our brain automatically goes, oh my gosh, buying 40 single families is a nightmare. I'm buying a 40 unit. It's got to be 40 times as hard as buying a single
Hmm.
family. Yeah,
Right.
it is harder, but it's only 3 times harder. That's what I'm hearing you
Yep.
say there.
Yep.
Yes, cool. So what year is it? This is 17. You've been laid off. No, what's
It
the
was
timeline on this?
2019, I think, before I kind of had the scales removed from my eyes and realized I should be doing commercial
Okay,
properties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool, cool. And so you go on, continue with the story. You're doing a great job of telling it, and I keep sidetracking
All these nuggets, right?
you.
Dive into. So
Yes.
one of the things that I realized is that, I'm going to have to be managing these properties or hire a property manager. And in my experience of growing a 40 unit single family portfolio, I learned that I'm a terrible property manager. Like I have no business getting involved in leasing out properties. So I need to figure out something else to do, right? So I need to figure out some smarter way to go about this. And I figured out along the way that I was good at raising capital. And so I thought, well, you know what? Why not just be the lender? Why not just be, somebody involved in the deal, but let somebody else take care of all the management? And so what I started doing is I would JV or co-GP with other sponsor teams. So a sponsor team would show up and say, I have this 296 unit in Houston, Texas, and I need to raise, like 10 or 12 million dollars. And how about we partner up? You be the investor relations person and you use the network and your contacts to help raise some capital. And then we'll be partners in the deal. And now I have a minority share, but I have a ownership share in a property complex for which I'm not involved in day to day. I am still a member of the GP team, but I didn't sign for the debt. I help make some decisions, but it's like the reporting of how we're doing is the decisions that I'm making, right? Which is much more in line with my experience being in kind of the engineer, kind of corporate guy. I ran spreadsheets. I can do that kind of stuff all day, but I don't want to be in there leasing properties. I don't want to be in there like doing all that kind of stuff. But these guys are great at it. They're like world class. So I partner up with them, and so you figure out after a while that when you're in commercial real estate, it becomes a team sport. And so you end up partnering with people because the deals do get bigger and they're hard to take down by yourself.
Okay. It makes total sense. I mean, because you got to have access to a lot of capital, and at
Yeah, you
some
do.
point,
And in a very quick amount of time, right?
yeah, yeah, a down payment on 500 million. I mean, versus a million, or
Right.
I don't know, in Arkansas at the time, or Georgia.
I mean, these were like $50 million deals. So like
Yeah,
we're putting we're getting a loan for 35, $40 million, and then we're having to raise $10 million. I mean, that's those are very real numbers.
yeah. So your skill set at this time is raising the capital. Is that what I heard you
Mhm.
say? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. And so you get access to, so you start owning a few of these properties. It's a team sport. There's going to
Mhm.
be multiple people involved. Everybody find their sweet spot, and let's start getting some properties. Yeah, that's kind of where we are. Go from there.
Yeah, that is
Did I
where, and
miss it?
then
Yeah.
COVID happened, and then and at this time, I'm still learning how to be a small business owner. I'm still learning, I'm still paying down the ignorance debt of running a business. Like we are all born ignorant of these things. Like nobody's born knowing how to do all this stuff, and it is a race for all of us to pay down this ignorance debt. Whatever line of business you want to
Oh
go
my
into,
God.
you don't know how to run Facebook ads, you don't know how to market, you don't know how to negotiate, you don't know how to sell, you don't know how to manage properties, you don't know how to raise capital by yourself, you don't know how to build a capital stack. And so you're figuring out the order that you need to knock these dominoes down, and when you do knock down the next domino, like the next level in the game becomes available to you. Like, oh, okay, so I know how to find deals now let's figure out how to buy deals.
Oh my God, that is so good. Ignorance debt. Where did you come? Did the universe give you that little nugget, or
I heard
did you,
that
yeah, go ahead.
from Alex Hormozy, and his story of that was that I don't know who was speaking, but he said one of the best closes that he ever heard someone do from stage was that the world is everybody in the world who is not making $1 million every year is only making say $100,000 is paying life $900,000 in ignorance debt for not knowing how to make $1 million. I was like, he liked it. And when he said it, I thought, yeah, this is smart. And so basically what we're doing is like, you don't know, right? Like you go into business in debt, whether it's financial or skill wise, you just don't know what you're doing. And so
Yeah.
you have to overcome. So you can think of another way is like you're growing your skills. And so most everything is learnable. And so you have to go and acquire these skills to pay down this ignorance as fast as possible.
So good. All right, continue with the story. You're paying down your ignorance debt.
Yeah, and I'm still doing that. Like I'm
Yeah.
still figuring out how to build a team that is going to build the business. And so I have bought into a company called Real Estate 101 from a guy named Peter Conti. He has been in the business for like 30 plus years. He's just a prince of a man. I have so much respect for him. And there's few people that I meet now that I really think as a mentor, and he's one of them. And we became pretty good friends by we both happened to join a mastermind and we both kind of attended it a little bit, but we got to become pretty good friends over Zoom via, a mastermind group. And he's like, I really like the stuff you're saying. I really like what you're doing. And I'd like to get to know you better and see if you'd like to work with me. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant, but I was like, hey, I'm here to help you be good at what you're doing. I like to build pitch decks and raise capital and get involved in projects, and I can do that, right? I want to be a legitimate member of the team. I'm not trying to be an unlicensed person raising money. Like I want to be involved in the projects. But one of the things I can bring to the table is a network of people who have some cash. And he had an even bigger network of people who had cash, but he wasn't even coming close to tapping into it because he was running his business, Real Estate 101. And he's at the place in life where he's in his 60s, he's a boomer, and he's trying to take a step back. He doesn't want to retire, but he wants to, live a lifestyle like I was talking about. Whereas my kids are now a little bit older. I'm not taking care of them like they're super young anymore. I have time in a way that I didn't have when they were little. So I'm ready. It's like I have like my second wind when it comes to being a business owner. So I'm like ready to go. And so it's a perfect mix of match made in heaven of somebody I really respect, something he's built something really, really well that really just needs some time and energy. I have time and energy. So here I am.
Amazing. And Philip Conte or Conte, what was
Peter Conti.
Peter?
So it's we're just a bunch of apostles.
Okay. Oh my gosh. This is so good. Um, excuse me, Paul. All right. So you've bought real estate. You've partnered up with Peter and now you're a co-owner of some sort
Yep.
in Real Estate 101.
Mhm.
And is the commercial investor accelerator a piece of that?
It is. It's our um, product that it's a do-it-yourself study at home study course that we offer that provides a lot of software tools. So I have a software engineering background, and I've kind of stayed abreast to what's happening in the AI space. And I thought this is going to revolutionize a lot of industries, including real estate. And so I've been trying to figure out how to make sense of that. So it's something we worked on together and we launched in January of this year when I joined the team officially. And it's a new product that we're offering that allows people to use the powers of technology and AI to accelerate the process of finding commercial investments.
I love it. Uh, so is it tied in with things like there's Crexi or what's the big one, LoopNet? Is
Yep,
it
LoopNet's one, Crexi's one, and we have our own version called Commercial Deal Finder,
okay?
which basically we have access to data just like Crexi or LoopNet or Zillow or anybody else does, and it's a way to filter on these um, the public data to get some sort of indication as to when somebody will sell. But one of the things that we are actually just about to launch with our new tool here is kind of our Commercial Deal Finder plus plus, is that it has the ability to use machine learning to create an AI score on the likelihood that a given property will sell at a discount in the next 90 days.
That is amazing. So you know where to target your outreach effort
Right.
as you're trying to find potentially under market properties.
Bingo.
Yeah, I love it. So are some of those things, I'm just thinking you've probably got older owners who are about to pass away, or maybe somebody just died or is about to die, give it to kids. Kids are like, I don't want this. I want cash. I want
Yep.
to go to the Bahamas kind of a thing.
Totally.
And yeah,
And well, there are indicators in public data. So we don't know if somebody is in bad health, but we do know there are, indicators if they're not making their tax payments on time, if there's code violations, if there's a filing on a divorce, like against their name, like there's these kind of things are indicators that are publicly available, but it takes a lot of work for a human to kind of sort through, and we just call this list stacking, and we're trying to stack motivation for somebody who's in a distressed situation, and that's it's doable, but you just got to brute force it. Well, with AI now, you just give them the data and say, go find the pattern. And they find the pattern that says, based on the last 20 years of transactions that are publicly known, these are the situations that create the likelihood that someone will sell at a discount quickly in the next 9 days.
Mm. S- I love that. And that will soon be a part of the commercial investor accelerator package.
Right.
Okay, so I have a question for you. The person that's looking at the commercial investor accelerator, you've got somebody who's where are they in their commercial real estate journey, and what are
Hmm.
they thinking, feeling, doing? Like literally, like we got a camera on this person. They're
Yep.
at the beginning of the ignorance debt tour,
Yeah.
or go ahead,
Yeah,
speak to
they
that.
just don't know, right? Like they know that they want cash flow, they know they want to build wealth, and they're either burnt out at their current W-2 type job, or they have their own business and they're just kind of over it, or they're already a landlord and they have 5, 10 single family units, but they really think they could scale. Like if they could find a good 50 unit apartment complex, that would be all they need. And so you kind of fit in one of those three categories. And so usually you have a little bit of real estate acumen about you, but you're not yet a commercial real estate expert. And so you're either business savvy or you have a little bit of kind of like curiosity or interest in real estate, and you just feel a little overwhelmed by the idea of buying a 50 unit apartment complex. You're like, I'm not really sure how to find it. I'm not sure if I'm getting getting the right deal. I wouldn't know if I'm getting taken or if I'm getting a deal, right? You just don't know yet. And so that's what we're trying to bridge. That's the knowledge gap we're trying to bridge. Is here's how you find it. Here's how you run the numbers. Here's how you use our contract to buy yourself some time to raise the capital. Here's how you do your due diligence to make sure it's a really, really good deal. And then here's how you close.
Love it. And I'm looking at all the sort of modules that address those things that you just said.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll spare us the time of going through all of them. But yeah, super juicy. Everybody listening, watching, uh, go into the show notes and click on the Commercial Investor Accelerator link and and check it out because there's good stuff in there. And yeah, check it out. I'll leave it at that. Uh,
Hmm.
any good before after stories? Obviously yourself and the success you've had and
Hmm.
where it's brought you, but how about you've got anybody who's like
Yeah.
diving into this? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We just had a client put a property under contract in Mississippi. He's like a physical therapist type. He runs a small business. So he's like kind of like fits that category of somebody who's in a small business, but really wants to scale. And this happens all the time. We tell people like what you need is already in your contacts. Like if you pull up your phone contacts, the people that you need to know are just 1 to 2 degrees of separation from who you already have access to. Go tell people you want to buy property. Like you make good money. You're an established person in the industry. Like no one's going to be surprised that you want to buy an apartment complex. Go tell somebody. And so it turns out they found there's a storage facility there that was not being managed, and they just want out. And he's buying it on owner financing from the seller who are ready to retire, and it's great terms, and he's in due diligence period right now. And so that kind of stuff happens all the time in our like if the people who do what we say have the best chance of finding success. It's a great program because basically we're just following the crumbs that of success has left behind. Like these are the patterns that we see are that are successful, and the people that are most successful, the people who are willing to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, "Hey, are you looking to sell? Because I'm interested in buying." You do that enough times, you're going to find a deal.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I've made millions of cold calls in my life.
Yep.
So I know that truly you're just you're one step closer to the S. And as we're
Hmm.
out there doing that prospecting or call it whatever you want,
Yep.
there's the no, no, no. And then you get that person that's like literally like, thank God you called. You are
Yes.
the solution to my problem.
Yeah.
right?
That's what
Are
you're
you,
looking for. Yep.
yeah. Do you have scripts and things like that in
Mhm.
there? Yeah. What to say,
Yep.
when to say it, all that great stuff.
Yep. We even have scripts that allow you to do it over email if you're really nervous about making phone calls. You can just send these emails to blast. Like you pull the list, you skip trace them, you find their phone number, you can text them or you can call them. You can send them an email. And sometimes we just tell people, if you're super nervous about this, here's a script to go find brokers, and the brokers will go find the deals for you. You have to work at it to make sure you find the right broker, but brokers want a transaction fee, right? They want a commission, so they'll bring you a deal if you give them the right instructions.
So good. Oh my gosh. I'm excited. I just want to stop and go start prospecting, sending out emails,
Yeah.
picking up the phone. So my phone, oh, we're here. I've got my phone right hiding right here.
Hmm.
Um, you're telling me that I can start plowing through my contacts, or I can open up my contact list and
Yeah.
you can go, hey, here's what you say to when you start calling your contacts and you start telling them you want to buy a property, and before you know it, you will have people in there that want
Yes.
to do it
Especially
with you or
if
what have you, or
Exactly. Especially if you're in a market where you've been there for a while, you know a lot of people, and you're looking for a project or a property in that market, you already have everybody you need to know, or you're just one or two steps away from the people you need to know because you've been there for a while. Now, if you're brand new into a market and you're doing it from far away, it's a little bit different because people don't know you yet. But most people have been where they are, have been there for a while, and you have a network of people that you've accumulated over time, and you just need to tell them that you're in the space. Hey, I mean,
yeah.
here's all it is. Hey, Misha, did you know that I'm looking to buy a commercial property, like an apartment complex, a mobile home park? You wouldn't happen to know anybody who has one of those and might be wanting to sell, would you?
So good. Oh my gosh. Everybody watching, listening, get the transcript or pull your pen out, rewind 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, this is the thing about scripts too. Uh, I've been in sales for a good chunk of my
Yeah.
life, and I was in mortgages.
Mm.
I was a home loan officer, and before that, I was in the financial services markets. And it doesn't matter. Point is, scripts are so powerful.
Yeah.
It's like the sooner I learn that, hey, this is literally what you say. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. I
Right.
just chopped $100,000 off of your ignorance debt,
Totally.
right? Like just say
Yeah.
this. And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that part of selling the scripts, because when you come up with a good little script or you get handed one and you say it and
Hmm.
it works, it's so good. Anyway, um, did you sell your 40 single family residence unit portfolio?
Nope. I still have them. I have most of them. I sold a few. They make money. They're not hurting me. And so I still largely live off the rental income from the 40 unit or the 40 single family units that I first built. They're here in my backyard where I live. I know everybody had to solve all the problems. Like they're an asset. And like the one of the things I learned from this grant I'm in real estate is the biggest regrets they had was they wish they wouldn't have sold as many properties, because
Yeah.
you look back on your history, at the value of real estate over time, it just tends to grow. Not everywhere, not always, but it just tends to grow across the board. And so, like, why wholesale your future by selling those and getting some cash and then turn around and buying another property if that property was already performing?
Yeah. I'll say this too. One thing, I've lived in beautiful places. I grew up in Jackson, Wyoming. Then I was
Mm,
in, Bozeman, Montana for my finance degree, which is
mm.
another beautiful place. That's the, the northern gateway into Yellowstone National
Yep.
Park. Jackson Hole is the southern gateway
Right.
into
Right.
Yellowstone National Park, but then ended up in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I was like, every time all those spots, I would look at properties and be like, I should buy one. And if I'd have just bought a property everywhere I lived,
Right.
is what I'm trying to say. Holy mackerel. But I do own, fortunately, in Encinitas, California, which somehow got on the Forbes list of top places to live recently. And I'm just like, well done there. I'll pat
Keep
myself
keep
on the
doing
back for
that.
that.
Like, just stay put, and like the equity you're building that place is insane.
Yeah, yeah. What was I going to say about that? Um, So, interest rate fluctuations.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's praying that. Oh, I know what I was going to say before I was going to talk about interest rate
Hmm.
fluctuations. was that with the amount of fiat money that's being printed in the world these days still,
Hmm. Yep.
I think real estate is always a great asset class because as there's inflationary pressures, although interest rate fluctuations can mess with property valuations,
Absolutely. Yep.
clearly the more money we print, the better for real estate
Hmm.
valuations in the long term as an asset class is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. Um, would you agree with that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I'm fundamentally, we're making more humans, and back to the point of like the quality of life is increasing, and so we're like we keep making more of us, right? And we're not building um, housing fast enough to make up for our growth, and we're not making any more land. So it's a fundamental need we all need, and it's something that is actually a very simple business. You're basically renting in a rectangle. And so like it is the simplest business. And I think it's like the final frontier for like the average person that's listening to this to make meaningful wealth without having some new brilliant idea. You can make way more money in private equity or launching the next Facebook, right? If you know how to do it. If you know how to do that, go do that. Short of having that kind of idea, I don't know a better option than buying in real estate.
Hey, you know what's interesting you say about that? You see so many people that build their businesses and what do they exit into or what do they start
Right.
doing with the profits that they're taking? They start putting it into property. And the next thing you know, that's where their actually wealth
Totally.
is from and generated from. I just see that all the time. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, I read this thing at one point. One of the things that's so powerful about America is that our property rights, the laws around property rights are
Very
so
favorable
strong. Yeah, very favorable. And hence,
compared to other countries for sure.
yeah, yeah. And that's one of the things that leads to our status in the
Wealth
world.
wealth creation. I mean, like
Yeah,
right, and
wealth creation. Yeah.
and by extension, our status. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So interest rate fluctuations. I mean, I'm imagining someone's thinking about buying that course, and I want to be cognizant of time here, so you don't need to go too deep on it. But I mean, people are probably constantly worried about interest rate fluctuations,
Hmm.
and or they're like, oh, there's cracks in the commercial real estate market.
Hmm.
I'm imagining those are things that you're
It's very
hearing
common
these days.
questions. Yeah. So, what's interesting about the word commercial real estate is there's a lot of asset classes inside of commercial real estate, like mobile home parks, storage facilities, RV parks, apartments are included in the term commercial, not just retail and office. Retail and office are areas that I'd be wary to go into unless you know exactly what you're doing. But I maintain that there's somebody making money in every asset class in every market in the country all the time. You just got to find your niche that you understand, that you have the most knowledge about. And we find that for most people getting started, unless you have some sort of inside knowledge and you don't have this debt of knowledge here, is we understand what it's like to live in an apartment or a house or a mobile home. Like everybody's lived in one of those before. So it isn't that much to learn and to understand what people want out of those places. So you can walk through an apartment complex and realize very quickly this is nice or not nice. Whereas if you're walking through, a storage facility, or if you're walking through a retail place, you're like, is this the right place to be? I'm just not sure. I don't have inside knowledge. You already have inside knowledge because you've already lived in a dwelling, right? Like this is something we've all done. So the gap in knowledge is the least there, and there's a ton of it to buy. So we find that to be the easiest hurdle to overcome. And then if you wish to go into another division of commercial real estate, if you want, more power to you, but do something that has the least hurdles so you can get in and get that big win, make your 500 million bucks and kind of have yourself set. Then you can be a business operator who can do what you want, retire, but we find most people, they get that big click and they're hooked and they can't stop themselves.
Yeah, it's good. I imagine a lot of people, myself included, where internally you're like, oh, I'm not smart enough, or I might look bad, or I might make a bad decision, or something like that. Like those types of conflicts.
Mhm.
Yeah, what do you hear those types of conflicts as well, or what do you see in
Yeah, and
that? Or
so like you fundamentally want to like invest in what you understand, right? And so like like you want to find a niche for something that makes sense. You want to hire a good team that knows how to manage these properties, because you're probably not going to be the one managing a 40-unit apartment complex from scratch, and nor should you. Like you can be involved as little as much as you want, but you want to buy a business for which you are the owner, not the operator. And that's the message that we're trying to tell people, especially people who own their own business right now. The business owns them. They think they're a business owner, but they're really a business operator, which means they're actually employed by their business, and they have major key man risk. And so what we want to do is get them into an asset to where they don't have key man risk, because their property manager can take care of things.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I love it. All right. I want to be cognizant of time. We could go on and on. And I know you have a cruise to get onto with your family.
Yeah.
And you've got to grow and scale.
Yeah.
So
Both. I have to do all three at the same time.
yes. So I think it's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
I do like to give everybody an opportunity, though. Whenever I'm interviewed
Mhm.
and we hit stop, I go, "Oh, I meant to say," or "I wish
That
I'd have
thing.
said," or
Yep.
yeah. Anything come to your mind in that regard that you were
Yeah,
hoping to
so
highlight?
somebody's listening to this right now. You've stayed this long. Something about this has kind of caught your attention, and there's something inside of you that says, I should be doing this. And you must figure out a way to build, buy, or create equity in your life. And you can do that with a business, you can do that with stocks, you can do it with real estate. I don't care. I can tell you, I can help you do it in real estate, but you do it in the asset class that makes the most sense for you. If real estate makes sense for you, we have one of the best programs that I've been through all of them, so I know. We have one of the best programs on the market that allows you to step into a trusted system so that you can like make that big breakthrough in your life. And so we teach real estate, but what we're really creating is transformation. You want to become another person, because what's happening right now is not good enough for where you want to be tomorrow. And so we have created this bridge. Real estate happens to be the bridge that we chose. If that's the one you want to take, we'd be happy to be your guide.
It's beautiful, Paul. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit stop, and we'll say goodbye offline.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.